This is Neil Bronstein. This is DRC for December 2nd. The first item up is Wheaton Lane subdivision, a preliminary plan and forest conservation plan in East County. And I think, Mariah, that you're the lead, is that correct?
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'll go ahead and just start off. So I am Mariah Claiborne, the lead reviewer for this preliminary plan and final forest conservation plan. We have Ariel as the environmental reviewer. So there were a couple of impacts related to this subdivision application. But I'll go ahead and kick it over to you to highlight any of the comments that you had questions to or any concerns. So.
Sure. Michelle Rosenfeld here, and I believe we have others on our team here as well. One of the questions that we had related to the fire rescue comment about the turnaround, could you show me where that might be located, what that might look like? I'm not sure I fully understand what Marie LeBeau is looking for.
Okay, and I believe Marie is online too. So
yeah, so,
Great.
so
Hi,
you have
Maria.
hi. I believe I attached a sketch of what a turnaround in Montgomery County, what a compliant turnaround in Montgomery County looks like when I forwarded my comments directly to your contact email, whoever that was,
Okay.
in e-plan. So you should have it. If you don't, please feel free to contact me. I'll send it again. Essentially, you've got two options. One is a 40-foot, a 5-foot radius cul-de-sac. Obviously, I don't see space for that. The other would be essentially a 3-point turnaround. So you would create 3 legs of the turnaround, the existing road being 2 of those legs, and a third leg would essentially, I assume, need to be on your property or somewhere where you could find space for it. That leg needs to be at least 60 feet long, at least 20 feet wide, with no parking. So if you were to use one of your driveways, you would then need to accommodate additional parking beyond that 60 feet. That's the basics of what a 3-point turnaround should look like.
Okay. Milton, do you or anybody else have additional questions about this at the moment?
Not at this moment.
Okay. All right. And if we didn't get that sketch, Maria, I'll let you know.
Yep, happy to forward it again,
we
whatever you
may need to. Great. And we may reach out to you to meet with you separately on this item.
Sounds good.
There also were questions about the sidewalk. Would you be able to show us where that sidewalk connection is that you're looking for? And this was not a fire and rescue comment. This was planning, I believe.
Yes, this is Justine with the Transportation Plan Division. I believe that it's not a sidewalk connection that we're looking for. We're looking for to provide the sidewalk on the frontage of your property, and then to provide transitions at both ends, and then extend that sidewalk to both property lines. So the property line to the west and the property line to the east. And then instead of a 5-foot wide sidewalk per complete streets, it should be a 6-foot wide sidewalk.
Okay. So you're looking for a 6-foot wide sidewalk. And where, could you just show me on the screen where you're talking about transitions?
No, at both ends of the sidewalk. And transitions is just like so proper termination of the sidewalk. That's what I meant.
Just to connect it into the existing 5-foot sidewalk?
There's no existing 5-foot west sidewalk.
Okay.
You need to provide the sidewalk on the frontage, and then the sidewalk on the frontage will probably be a standalone facility because there's no connection. I mean, to the west, to the east, to the west of the property, there is existing sidewalk, but it will not be connecting to this proposed development because I believe it's quite far away.
Okay.
So asking for a sidewalk extension will probably not be proportional to this development. So that's why we're not asking you to extend the sidewalk and connect the sidewalk to the west of the property.
Okay.
Third for
All
like
right.
sidewalk termination would be when it doesn't connect.
That's what I'm not understanding.
Yeah, does it connect to the road, Yossi?
There is no extent.
Okay, so okay,
Just end.
it's terminated.
Yeah,
And Michelle, was your question also, we're talking about the frontage, but were you talking about the connection between the two roadways that we were talking about, like the intra-personal connection?
yeah. But
Yes, that was gonna be my next question.
So we're not asking for a sidewalk there. We're asking more of like explore the possibility to connect this development to the. Let me look for the
And
name
if you
of
could
that.
show me on the screen where that connection
Where
is.
exactly, Justine, do I need to point at so that way I can have highlight?
Yes, so I think that probably when I did my comments on E-plans, I was able to draw a line. I don't know if
Oh,
you see.
okay,
So
Oh,
E-plans,
okay.
there's a line, yeah.
Let me see.
But basically, we're asking you to explore a possible connection between Rocky Mount Way and Wheaton Lane. That's what we're asking.
Right.
Where exactly to be located, that could be determined by you and your team, where this location will makes more sense and where it's feasible to make this connection. But we're just at this point, we're just asking you to explore that connection.
okay. Because this property, as I'm looking at it, does not have frontage on Rocky Mount Way, right? We would have to use someone else's property to do that?
Yes, so basically that
Okay.
could be done via an easement, and we're just asking this in the sake that we're always asked for interparcel connection. And so this is a great way to people to have pedestrian access to Rocky Mount Way and have more like a quicker access to the main roadway that connects Rocky Mount Way. So that's why we're asking to explore that connection.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that clarification. I think from my perspective, those were the most significant issues. Milton, did you have anything else you wanted to ask? And staff may have questions of us as well, but if there's anything else you want to follow up with them on the comments, let's go ahead.
I just wanted to find out if you were able to talk to about the, lot layout, orientation, boundaries and all that. Were you able to talk? We came in late, so we don't know if you already talked to, the team about that.
About which one?
The lot configuration.
No, we
No,
didn't speak on
no,
it
we
yet.
have not. No, we haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, there are some comments about the orientation of the property lines in regards to, the street. Can you clarify a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, so as far as for the lot line, so looking at what is this lot line right here?
Yeah.
It seems a little misconfigured on the drawing for one, but then also the individual lot lines themselves. I do know that design, as you see in E-plans, there is a upload of comments too, and if Tyler's online, I'll let him talk about that. But pretty much, we want the lot lines to be perpendicular and parallel. They're going off. Have you all looked into to see if you have ABL? Because we're trying to figure out, we don't know if it's because of the 60-foot the front width that's causing the lot lines to go angled, especially for lot 4. But if is Tyler online too to speak about more
Yeah,
about
I'm
the
here.
design? Thank you.
Yeah, so the intention for the design comments about the lot lines was so the buildings could become oriented to the street, similar to like the houses across the street. And thank you, Sandra, for sharing. So having the buildings be able to come closer to the street, have more consistent lot line, and have a greater presence on the street, and enhance like the sidewalk and the streetscape.
And I'll jump in and then you guys can fill in additionally as needed. Part of the reason why the lot lines are configured the way they are is because the property itself has those angled lot lines. So it limits somewhat our design abilities. And then once we had to accommodate for the building restriction line, particularly the lot second from the left, we had to push back. And the driveway depths are designed to meet the fire rescue standards for the depth and width of those driveways. So we're dealing with multiple conflicting regulatory requirements that is really what all of those together went into consideration for why the lots were designed, the boundaries were designed the way they were. And if I left something out, please fill in.
If I could jump in real quick, if you bring the houses close enough to the road, the driveways are not required for fire department access. You still have to produce a turnaround. That's a different issue. But in general, across those units, if they are close enough to the street, the driveways are not required.
Okay. Now, for the turnaround, could it be any one of these 4 lots, or are
Yes.
there distance requirements that we need to satisfy in one location versus another?
The only distance requirement is your dead end, so the distance to that last new driveway can be no further than 150 feet from wherever you choose, whichever lot you choose to have the turnaround on, which I believe you're
Okay.
going to meet if whether you put it on the first, the second, the third, or the fourth. I think you'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Other questions or comments from anybody on our team or planning staff?
Okay.
Is Ariel online just to go over environmental comments?
Sure, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
here. Good morning, Adisela, environmental planner. So the scale of the lot, it looks a little bit different. I think so some of the trees on the right side might be within the property. We just need to, clarify that. But also some of the trees on the left side are going to be impacted. And those will require variance because they're 30 inches plus. And we will ask you to conduct a report by a certified arborist so we can see to ensure that that tree will make it or will have the best chance to survive. So I'm talking specifically about SD4. Yeah.
Okay.
And the variance request, don't forget about the variance request. We need, it is not only for removing trees, but also for impacting.
Impacting the root zone, right?
So, yes.
Okay.
Is zoning online? Okay, let's see. Is anyone from Well and Septic? Because I didn't see any comments or anything, but not, if not, I believe we covered everybody today. So if anybody has any other additional comments or concerns, I think we can conclude.
All right.
Yeah,
Hi, I am here. This is Melissa from zoning. I didn't have any comments initially for this review.
Okay.
If
Okay.
anyone has zoning concerns, they can bring them up and I'll be happy to answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
this is WSC. You
Oh,
need to, you didn't apply for a SPA yet, so you need to apply for a SPA if you want to move forward to the next step in planning.
Okay. And you said SPA?
HPA, hydraulic planning analysis.
Okay. All right. And we need to do that at the time of, before this can go to the board? We need to do that now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
all righty. Well, thank you all for joining us and sharing your comments and concerns. But we'll be in touch for sure. So if you have any other things and anytime things come up, please let me know.
Okay.
I'll send out an email as well for the the dates as for final submittal agency letters
Right.
and then so the tentative planning board date, which is looking to be March 12th of 2026.
Okay. Right. I was going to ask you, what is it at this point? Do you know what our resubmittal deadline is?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So your final resubmittal deadline would be January 6th, 2026. Agency letters will
Okay.
be due January 26th. And then the tentative planning board date is March 12th.
Okay. So you need response to all of these comments by January 6th.
Yep, final submittal, making sure that all comments are addressed, yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Well, thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bronson again.
Oh, yeah.
We're on item number 2 for DRC, Colesville United Methodist Church, a concept plan in East County. Whenever you're ready, Emily.
Thanks. The plan here. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at DRC today. Thanks so much for submitting this concept plan. We're excited to see this project moving forward and all your work to add affordable housing to the church property. One comment that I forgot to include in e-plans, but I want to emphasize now is that we recommend that you reach out to the community as early as possible if you haven't done so. We think it would be a really good idea to talk to your neighbors about this proposal and try to address any concerns they have ahead of time. That will overall make the project go much more smoothly. You have all our other comments. I just want to emphasize some of the concerns we had about the scale and massing of the building. We realize this is just a concept plan at this point, but we have some concerns about about the just giant mass of a building right near the neighboring single family houses and kind of the extent of the parking lots on the property. So those are kind of our key comments. There are a lot of other comments that we've provided to you, and we're happy to answer any questions and discuss anything you might want to discuss with us today.
Great. Well, thank you guys for having us and reviewing our concept plan. And yes, very early stages. We literally just started working with the church a few months ago and just starting to get ideas together and really just trying to getting our ideas on paper and starting to get feedback from the county, obviously. So thank you very much for giving us initial feedback. And we actually have explored a lot of different proposals. One of the design submissions that you guys included in your comments is similar to something we already looked at. So we'll definitely be looking back at that original design or one of those prior designs. As far as the comments, I think they're all pretty much straightforward. Once again, this is really early on in the project. We literally just signed a contract to get a civil engineer on board. So once we have that, we'll actually be able to get the actual boundary of the site and utility locations and all that information that there are a lot of comments about. So I think as we move further along, we'll definitely be able to provide a lot of that clarity for you guys. And especially with the forested areas, the locating all the trees and areas that the trees are located is critical for us. We were trying to avoid all areas with the trees. As you know, behind the church currently is mostly a parking lot. There is the tree line along the southern border, which we're trying to maintain, as well as that area on the east side where we're putting the 26 parking spaces. It is a forested area, but going to the site, the trees are actually located mostly around the edge. So we were trying to minimize the impact of that. So one of the things I did have a question for is as far as parking lot design, is the county flexible with having potentially, if we're trying to save trees that could potentially be in that parking area, is the county flexible of having maybe if a tree falls in an area where the specific space might not work, is the county have the flexibility to, work around to save those trees as far as like a parking clearance or a tree clearance and stuff like that? That's maybe one of the things where we would want to work with staff more and really fine tuning the parking layout as far as where we're saving trees and where we're locating parking. Also, the fire department access, we are trying to maintain the two existing entrances and exits. One is a two-way entrance and exit, and the other on the west side of the church, our plan north here, is a one-way. So we are trying to maintain that. But as far as fire department access, I don't know if Marie had any specific comments on that. or in general. I know a lot of the comments for traffic had to do with the right of way and the path, the sidewalk along the right of way, which obviously will be more than happy to follow the requirements of the right of way. But yeah, at this point, we really just wanted to get initial feedback from the staff, and we look forward to working with you guys on this project. I guess one other question I had would be regarding the height. So right now, we believe that the 50-foot height for the zone is one of the requirements. Is that true? Are we understanding that correctly?
I think, yeah, I would have to look back at the conditional use standards. I think 50 feet is the maximum height for this use, as determined by the hearing examiner.
Right, because I know it's a conditional use, so everything
Mhm.
will, okay.
Right, I can double check on that for you.
Okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
50 feet was what we were
Okay.
using, and we were also measuring it from Randolph Road, which I guess will also be something we'll have to discuss because the site slopes pretty drastically towards the rear, and we
Mhm.
were kind of using that slope to hide the parking below the building.
Mhm.
It also helps minimize the amount of excavation that would have to happen on site. So that
Okay.
is definitely something that we're interested in, want to make sure that we're on the same page with the county as far as the building height measuring point and how we address that.
Okay, yeah, that's something, unless someone from zoning is on and knows off the top of their head what the building height measuring point is in this zone. Otherwise, we can get back to
Hey,
you.
good morning. This is Melissa Gutos from Zoning Plan Review. I did not look at your height measuring because I didn't have the conditional use when I did the review, but because everything's separate. So I didn't I guess usually the applicants provide that when we review plans, but if they have a condition about the height, it would be based on that, but in that zone, um let me pull that 1 second.
Okay, or we can get back to them about that.
I think
Yeah.
there's 2 options for height measuring,
Okay, because this is a residential
possibly.
zone.
Usually it's just the average along the front of the building. So if this is an addition, was it an addition or a new building?
So it's a new building, yes, but so that was kind of where we would have the discussion where our proposal that we had, it could be seen as an addition off the existing building because it's attached to the existing building with the cloisters and the playground and garden area is in between. So that would definitely be something that we'd want to talk to staff if keeping the building attached to the existing church is where we would be able to maintain that building measuring point on Randolph versus bringing it further into the site where we're taking into account this drastic slope.
Okay, I can put my email in the chat and I can go over the height measuring with you outside of the meeting. Yep,
Okay, that
no
works.
problem.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And then as far as the parking, it's still very much in flux, and that is kind of because the existing building that's on site, the existing church use, part of the project is basically redeveloping or renovating the current church and education building to meet the needs of the church today and in the future, because currently the church doesn't need as much space as it has. So one of the things that we wanted to talk more to staff about, and it might not necessarily be at this meeting right now, but just moving forward, is the potential to introduce a new use in that extra space in the existing church building, or we're calling it the education wing. But that's something where, depending on what that use is, obviously would greatly impact the parking. So that's something that we want to continue to talk with staff about. And then we do know that the county allows there to be parking overlap or sharing where residential uses and commercial uses can share the same parking because they don't necessarily have the same times of use. So that's something else that we want to explore with the staff to obviously minimize the amount of surface parking that we're providing, but we also don't want to hamstring the church because they do have large events like weddings and holiday ceremonies and whatnot that have large attendance numbers, so they do need parking, but not necessarily as much as we are showing.
Okay, so would you have a new educational use potentially in the church, or is this, I was under the impression there was something existing in there already and you might.
Yeah, so the church
modify.
itself has like Sunday school programs, and they have
Okay.
programs throughout. It's not like a school per se as
Okay.
grades K through 12. There is also a Montessori school that uses a portion of the building, and the church hopes to continue with both of those uses, not only their school within the church, but also a Montessori school on site. But those uses are still pretty small, and we're showing those continuing to be inside the existing church building.
Okay.
So the new use that I'm mentioning is really the upper two levels of that education building. So it's like the wing that's in between the new building and the original church building. Right now, it's underutilized by the church. They use a few of the classrooms sporadically, as same with the Montessori school. But what we're proposing is basically pooling all of those uses into the existing church building, and allowing a new use to go on the upper two levels of that education wing.
Okay, and what would the new use be?
That is a question mark at the time, at this time.
Okay, okay.
I know we've been talking to potential other schools, other Montessori schools, nonprofits, other
Okay.
organizations that are related to the church, those type of things. So things that are conditionally allowed in the R200 use, but would obviously still need to be approved by the planning board.
Okay, so you would potentially need 2 conditional uses depending on what type of use that is.
Correct.
But we can talk about that once you have more information about it. And you had a question about something about the trees and the parking.
Yeah, so specifically in that area where I have the 26 parking space bank, uh, in that area that is if you look on Google Earth, it shows like it's very forested. It was more so trying to see if there's any flexibility, because I know in another project we're working on, the city that we're working with has very strict requirements for the spaces that you provide trees. Like you have to provide 5x7 clearance, or if you don't, you can't plant a tree there, which can be prohibitive in an area where you're trying to put parking. So it's more, I was wondering if there's any flexibility. So say there is a tree that falls right in the middle of the drive aisle, would we have the flexibility to, wrap the drive aisle around that tree to save the tree and then get to the parking behind it, or not specifically that, but along those lines? Basically, we're trying to minimize the impact of any parking that we're putting on the site with the existing trees, and I guess whatever flexibility the county has with that.
This is Bianca Noveno, the environmental planner. We can definitely work with you on making sure that what you're proposing is realistic in terms of the tree save. But yeah, I mean, I guess the location and the location of the trees is important to determine, and normally that's done in the NRI FSD stage. Granted, it's not required for concept plans, but if you are planning to move forward, that would be a good thing to complete also. And it is required to submit that before submitting a forest conservation plan. So yeah, we can definitely work with you on that. And yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, like I said, we're very early stages here. Just trying to get general ideas on paper and get feedback from the county. We did just get a civil on board, and hopefully we'll be getting the survey information back from them in the coming weeks. And as we have that information, we'll be able to massage this as we move forward.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna mention, as Bianca just said, probably your first step would be to submit the NRI FSD.
Okay.
Or the next step, I would
Right.
say. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. One thing I want to point out on the bottom here, where I have green features. So the county does have a a bioretention facility proposed that the Department of Environmental Protection did back in 2023. We're including it here on the plan, and I noticed on your comment you kind of or that was kind of taken off. I'm just wondering if we should still take into account that proposed facility or if we should disregard that at this time.
That's just Mark Etheridge with DPS Water Resources. Was that something DEP was proposing to do as a retrofit or something?
I believe so. The church may have to chime in on this, but I was provided a sheet that was from the Department of Environmental Protection from 2023, basically designing this bioretention facility at the bottom of their parking lot. And it may have been in response to like a flooding issue downstream, you know.
It wouldn't be flooding, but they're looking for credits from the state. That's a DEP project is not something that's done for compliance with development that I would do. It's more of a voluntary kind of thing, and it doesn't meet the requirements for stormwater compliance from the state level. Was it constructed or not?
It was not. So that's why we're still showing it and we're taking into consideration. But if we should not be continuing to show it, that would be good to know, I guess.
Yeah, if you're moving forward with this development, then you'd be required to provide stormwater management to some
of course
standard that complies.
Of
and
course.
the plans you got from DEP probably would not meet those standards.
Okay.
So you'd be looking at potentially putting something there, but it wouldn't be something you have to have a placeholder there because DEP wants that there. I don't really think you need to continue to show it.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, the idea was basically that DEP facility would only be collecting that lower portion of parking area. The new building would basically collect all of its rainwater into that courtyard area, and then the upper parking area would be collected into the rain garden, which is that area in between the new and old building. But obviously, as we move forward, we'll have a civil engineer do a more thorough examination of that.
Absolutely. Okay.
I did see a comment about not having any parking in front of the church, I guess go past the front of the church building. I see that comment, but we aren't proposing any parking in front of the church building. I just wanted to make sure that was a general comment, and I'm not seeing, or I guess potentially that area off of the entrance from Randolph Road. That's an existing condition. I'm not sure if that's where that comment was coming from.
This is Roberto Duke with the design division. Yes, I mean, we were looking at those spaces. It looks like about 4 or 5 spaces that are right adjacent to Randolph Road.
Yep.
You know, if possible to have it as a green space rather than
the parking. Okay, because right now I actually think that might be the entrance to that house's parking area, but they might have a secondary entrance as well directly off of Randolph, but I can check that.
Okay.
But that would be the only thing preventing us from being able to make that green space is the fact that that's the drive entrance to that neighboring house.
Sure.
All right. Was there any other questions from Colesville United Methodist? Did you guys have any specific questions?
Not for me.
Laura, I. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Well, I will continue working with staff as we move forward.
Is there anything that you want to talk about regarding the sketch and the massing of the building?
Actually, I do. Hi, I'm the architect. My name is Saskarai, and my question is, I'm looking at the sketch that you sent.
Sure.
And on the So so the green area that's sort of shown there, are you saying that you'd like that to be all landscaping and the parking area, the areas in red?
The parking areas would be in the area in red, and yes, the green would be more of the landscaped area. One of the things we want to make sure about is that it complies to the open space requirement, and also to ensure that the massing of the building is set back away from, as much as possible, away from the surrounding residential.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm fine with that. I was just trying really more just understand your sketch. I like the idea of the building having more landscaping around it rather than it feeling. What I was doing with the courtyards was, this sort of going back to medieval times, I suppose, having the buildings focusing inwards into the courtyard, into the cloisters in a sense, and then having all the circulation around it. But I was trying to balance just there are a couple of times in the year where there's just whatever you do, you're never going to have enough parking. But one of the things too was with our current design that I wasn't really happy about was that I felt like the building was just a mass sitting in a parking lot. So I sort of, that there are good things about this approach that I like, but as you all know, from the moment you start with a conceptual design, this will go through a number of refinements until we get to what turns out to be hopefully a wonderful design that is also, addresses the county's housing needs as well. But more importantly, it's got to be something where people actually want to live there. And living in a parking lot, I don't think, even though we've been doing that traditionally for the last 50 years, we've just been putting parking lots around apartment buildings. This is I like this approach more, basically. And I also think that the neighbors will appreciate this more, and the separation, although I know we're probably going to get a lot of pushback from the neighbors. That's sort of my biggest worry in terms of where we are. But the other question I had about the sketch is, so the parking and the area that's in front of the church right now, that's all existing, and we're not really touching that. And I don't know what the staff's position is on that, whether we want to rethink the front as well, because the way the front is set up, it's really one of the ADA access points into the building. But we can manage that as well. The other thing, so I'll let you talk about that if you want to address that.
Yeah, hi, Michael. This is Atul Sharma. I'm the division chief for the design team. Thank you for your comments and your openness to have the dialogue. This is early in the stage, so we tried to give you just an image to convey some of the sort of design priorities that we were hoping you would pursue. And I think just hearing you speak already sort of gives us a lot of comfort that we are thinking along the same lines. We did look at that space in the front. It was unclear to our larger team whether, you could do this in a number of different ways moving forward. You could you may be subdividing the two properties, as I think Emily has shared with us internally, or you may be keeping this as one property. So we didn't want to take a heavy hand with the space in the front. We did look at it and see definitely some room for improvement and areas for enhancement of that layout in a way that would make sense and create a really nice forecourt for the church building. But we were also already taking out parking and things. And so I think that as you develop these ideas further, if there are ways to reconsider that frontage as a forecourt to the overall development, we would be very much in support of that. But that's something that you have to work out with the church, and I think depends a little bit on your path of approvals that you take with us and the hearing examiner. So, but yeah, there's definitely room for improvement there, and we're encouraged to hear you at least raise it as a topic of discussion today.
Okay, and then my next question is, so this is I don't want to say very formal setting, but it is somewhat formal. Can we, would it be okay if we, as we go through and we develop our design to have one meetings, especially with the design division as well? I mean, it's a number of things. You have, as an organization, you have a huge amount of experience doing this, and you could also guide us through the development process in terms of, you know, I'm going to ask you to be blunt with us and just say, no, that's if it. I have a saying that a fast no is sometimes better than a very slow yes.
Feel free to reach out to me. My name is Emily Tettelbaum, and I can coordinate follow-up meetings for you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I did have one last question, and this is once again back for fire. The property does reach Andrew Drive on the backside, and one of the concerns that I had was that in order to meet fire requirements, we might have to connect to that right of way back there. Does fire see that as being a requirement, or do you think we can meet the fire requirements by using the two existing entrances on Randolph? Because obviously the
I don't
community
see
probably
that.
would want
I
us
don't
not to
see that
connect.
that's going to be necessary at this stage. So for a fully sprinklered building, every point along the all exposed exterior walls can be no further than 450 feet, measured as the firefighter walks from edge of compliant access. If edge of
Right.
compliant access is essentially what's shown in salmon, we'll call that salmon on the screen right now, then no, you wouldn't need to connect to Andrew. You still have to get within 50 feet of your lobby door, but you get that extension of 450 feet because your building will be fully sprinklered.
Fantastic. Thank you. Because I'm sure that would be something the community would be very concerned about if we're connecting back there.
I agree.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone. We'll be in touch.
We're ready. So this is item number 3 for DRC today. A preliminary plan and site plan, both amendments for Adventist Healthcare Shady Grove Medical Center in West County. And Jeff Server is the lead reviewer, and he'll start in a second.
Hi, good morning, everyone. As Neil identified, these are 2 amendments for the Adventist Health Facility at Shady Grove. The site plan amendment is really more of what I would loosely call a cleanup amendment, where it's documenting and sort of validating the as-built conditions for the project. There weren't really any significant comments on that. The other portion of it was on the preliminary plan amendment, which is seeking to make changes to 2 of the conditions from the original preliminary plan approval, and then the following preliminary plan amendment A. These are conditions 23 and 26. Most of the conditions pertain to APF comments and transportation. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to the applicant for their questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Patrick O'Neill on behalf of Shady Grove Medical Center, and I'm with the law firm of Lercherly and Brewer. With me today, we have Brian Champa, who is on screen, and then Alex Berman, both of whom represent the Shady Grove Medical Center on the day-to-day basis. You may recall, and this is for those of you who have been in the trenches with Shady Grove Medical Center for a while now, Jeff Morgan has often played the role of the face of Shady Grove Medical Center, and he is moving on for good and fun things for himself, but we're all going to do our best to pick up the pieces and provide the great institutional knowledge and direction that he did for us for so many years. So he will be missed. And then also on our team is Joytika Sharma with Soltez, who is also visible on the screen. So that's our team. We've had a chance to look at the comments. Appreciate you sending them out following Thanksgiving dinner. So that was helpful for us to make this time useful. The one overarching note we want everyone to be focused on, if you can, and Jeff pointed it out well, that this really is intended to be a cleanup of as-built, but also to recognize that there are a couple of triggers in the existing approvals that will not happen in the way it was originally anticipated. And what needs to happen now that we have a new Great Seneca Science Corridor plan and we have a hospital master plan is for a whole new preliminary plan to be submitted in the next couple of years. That's going to be reflective of what was envisioned in the Great Seneca Science Corridor plan and also with how the hospital really intends to grow. So the intent on some of these conditions that we're seeking to change is to maintain the status quo until that plan can be submitted. So if that wasn't abundantly clear, I wanted to make that clear for the assembled group. In terms of specific questions that we have, and with that context I provided, there's a fire access plan comment that Marie LeBaud provided at number 6 for the preliminary plan and number 5 for the site plan. And Marie, there really are no impacts that these site plan and preliminary plan changes have to the fire access plan. Is that okay, or do you want us to go through a red line and just show you definitively there are no impacts?
A red line would be great, but if the red line doesn't actually do anything, then a statement to that effect also works.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then for sediment and stormwater, that's Andrew Kohler's comment at number 8 in the preliminary plan and number 8 for the site plan. Andrew, there were comments submitted to Soltez about some of the concerns you raised, I think on November 25th. They're responding to that. Does your comment involve more than those issues that you had raised, or is there something else going on we should be aware?
This is Andrew Kohler. No, that revision you guys are working through is
Okay.
that captures it. So we got to work through that to get done. But yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that there wasn't more to it. So, and then Leah Daniels had made a comment about a breakdown of the project completed in relation, the projects that have been completed in relation to the phasing. So we'll provide that. There was a question within her comments, and others had alluded to it. I think in particular Deepak, about the LSC loop that is still required by the existing approvals, and that Shady Grove Medical Center is poised to abide by, with a site plan submittal in late December or early January that is going to reflect how the site plan, how the LSC loop can be implemented on the campus. And so I hope that disposes with any of the questions that were raised in the comments. But let me pause there and see if there's any more questions or concerns about the LSC loop in relation to the current preliminary plan and site plan amendment.
Deepak, did you want to speak, or is it okay if I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. In regards to the comments related to transportation, I think that was just in a kind of figure out where are we going with the proposed amendments. I think in my comments, I explained that the timing and the development of the LAC loop is defined by conditions 24 and 25 of the amendment. My concern was that you incorporated language regarding the LAC loop into conditions
20,
26.
Yeah.
So what is the intent of this, other than permits associated with the construction of LSC Loop Trail and it finishes about associated site plan amendment. So what was the intent of incorporating the LSC Loop into that condition and modification?
So we had gone back with the prior staff team, we had gone back and forth on changes to this condition that would achieve the staff's objective of making sure that no permits could be issued for the property until this new preliminary plan is submitted, which I had referred to at the outset. In digesting that intent, we did note that there's a possibility that the LSC loop would require some permits that we didn't want to be prohibited as part of the LSC loop plan. And so we made that carve out for the LSC loop to be able to get permits, but no other permits for the property.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I would have to kind of understand. It does, but I think I have to dig into that a little more.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would have to dig into that a little more.
Go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No. Finish your thought.
And I also was going to preview that there were a couple of other issues that have come up that we're going to need to work through with staff that are potential projects that are needed that are not density producing, but have some utility work that might be needed prior to this new preliminary plan. So this condition is going to be modified even a little bit more to address those as well. So stay tuned for that as we get the final language, and we'll submit that as part of our resubmittal here.
Okay. In addition to my other comments, I think there was a bit of confusion around what exactly is happening on site. You did provide us a chart, and that's why my first comment references an additional chart that explains what's the total build. You cited, I believe these are site plans that you're referencing. And
Correct.
what would be most helpful, especially in regards to modifying condition 23. Condition 23 points out the build as far as square footage is concerned, and the phasing as it relates to the validity of your APF. So in your chart, what I'm not seeing is what has been built thus far as it relates to the phasing and the time period. So it looks like
We're gonna provide that.
That would be extremely helpful. Now, with the modification to your condition, again, really trying to understand your intent. I know you said earlier that existing triggers will not happen. With this plan, if you're looking, and this is what you're kind of looking to modify it for, what existing triggers will not happen? What did you mean by that when you said that earlier?
But stated broadly, we want to preserve the status quo of development on site with APF, with APF availability until this new preliminary plan comes in.
In the new preliminary plan, and you're saying when do you expect the new preliminary plan to come in?
So that tends to be project specific. So when funding and needs emerge on the campus, then there is a full understanding from Shady Grove Medical Center that when they do that, it's not just going to be a building that they want to build. It's going to have to be a whole preliminary plan that outlines how that building is going to coordinate with the updated master plan and their overall hospital needs. So it will be a major endeavor. To put a timeline on it, there isn't a building or funding for any anticipated development on the site. But we're looking at an APF expiration date of the with extensions to be in 2030. So certainly before that time would be the estimate.
So this, I think a part of the question that we asked, and Deepak, I think we had said the same thing. Is this ultimately an APF extension request? And what's the status of your APF in regards to this application? Someone in the room would be helpful to know, what's the validity period for APF finding? How long is it?
It varies with each approval, so it can be 5 years, it can be 7 years, it can be
Is there a maximum period?
20, I think,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, and for longer APF periods, it's usually a phased project, much bigger
Yeah.
project.
So is this ultimately going to become an APF extension?
It shouldn't, no, but we do need to provide the background information because it's not easily discussed here, but you need to see how the preliminary plan and APF aligns with the phasing schedule.
Yeah. Okay. So coming out of this, I think where transportation stands is, again, the graphic chart, whatever you come up with, explaining where you are, what's left over as it aligns with your previous condition, and then just kind of further explanation of this incorporation of the LSC loop and just thinking about that more clearly. So I think those are our comments, but I did want to, my colleague in MCDOT, I don't know if you have anything additional, Deepak, that I may have missed.
No, I mean, you covered it all. I just wanted to put it out that whatever conditions which is already done and built, we would like to know what is already satisfied. So if you could list that up and what is pending as well, that will be a great help.
Yeah, that's our intent. It's complicated and that's not a good answer, but B, we had intended to provide that, or thought we had provided that at some level with the site plan history that we provided, but we're going to make it much more clear how it relates to the phasing schedule that you've asked us to do.
Thank you.
Okay, and then Deepak, we had interpreted one of your comments as potentially meaning that we need to submit the LSC loop as part of this site plan. I don't think you were saying that. I think you were, but I want to confirm that with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going through the condition. I think as part the condition number 25 states that before the use and occupancy permit, you were going to submit the design.
Right. That's what we're focused on.
Okay. All right.
So the late December or early January submittal is intended to meet with that. Question I have for staff is that we're processing this site plan now, and that another site plan will come along. I'm assuming, I'm not assuming, I have every expectation that this site plan amendment will be approved, but we want to be able to process that second site plan, the LSC site plan, LSC Loop site plan when it's submitted. Do you see any issues with that, or should we have a side conversation about that?
No, I don't see an issue as long as you submit that prior to the final use and occupancy. But
Yeah, that's what we are focused on that, as you can imagine. Okay. Can't see the room, but I'm assuming everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish and is okay with the process we've outlined.
Yes, he's in the room.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. There was a question. Thank you for that conversation. There was a question from Jeff Server on the east-west connection. Comment number 12 on the preliminary plan. I assume that's really more informational, but I can tell you that Blackwell Road, we're very pleased to report, is well underway for construction and certainly permitted and is under construction and is expected to connect with Brochard in February. So that's a wonderful new development that we're excited about and we think you would be too. But outside of that, Jeff, is there any other?
No, that's helpful.
Okay.
It was more, I guess, yeah, more informational.
Okay.
Yes, but, that's very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, and exciting, we think. Hope you do too. Let's see. Number 9 on the site plan is another Jeff comment. That's a data table. Again, we're assuming that what you're asking for there is just coordination on how the data table is going to look as it relates to the height of the building, 80 or 82.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little confusing.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that coordinates with you and your expectations. And I think that's it from us. Anything that I've missed, team? Brian or
Nope. Thank you,
Joytika?
Patrick.
Okay. No. All right. Well, this was helpful for us, hopefully for you as well. And anything else that staff or anybody needs to put on the table for us to work through in a response?
Sorry, my apologies, Jeff. I do have an additional question for a comment that I made regarding the update to condition 23. It looks like you didn't redline part B of that condition. Were you looking to omit it, or you just weren't looking to address it, and that's why you didn't include it?
We were hoping to, so from our standpoint, the preliminary plan was the problematic trigger. So we wanted to leave that. So if we're able to preserve a status quo on preliminary plan phasing, then the APF should follow along. That was our intent. But I'll take a closer look at that again to make sure that achieves that objective.
Okay, so
In which case 24 would not need to be changed.
20, I'm in reference to 23B. I'm asking, are you
23B, I'm sorry, 23B, yes.
Yes.
I'm tracking with you, but I wasn't articulating the thought process as it relates to 23B.
So are mhm.
So if this language were acceptable, then the APF phasing of phase 3 would still be alive until a new preliminary plan amendment is filed.
Okay, so are you looking to eliminate part B of this condition?
No.
All right, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that's helpful for us. I think we're good here. Give you all 9 minutes that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Very good. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
thank you all for your
Bye-bye.
time.
On item number 4 for DRC today. It's an administrative subdivision plan for 5309 Locust Avenue in West County, and Hugo is the lead reviewer, and he'll, in a second, he'll take it.
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll go with the West County Planning Division, going over Locust Grove. Starting off with some of the bigger comments. One is getting the stormwater concept prepared, and also having an updated tree save plan. And one comment that might not have been in any plans, which is using the existing driveway, and looking into having a shared driveway for both the houses. This meeting is for the applicant for any questions you have, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, this is Kevin Foster, GLW. Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward, so we don't have a ton of questions. Just wanted to get a little feedback on the road frontage. We were planning on 60-foot right of way with a closed section road. We have a tremendous amount of off-site water coming down here across Locust Avenue, and we need to make sure it all gets into that existing inlet. And the only way we can really do that is through a closed section road, and there's already curb on the lot to the right, so we'll just be connecting to that curb and continuing that down. So unless DOT or transportation had any other desires, that's what we were planning on doing. Any comments at all?
This is Rebecca from DOT. I believe that this is Brenda Pardo's project. She's out on leave for a few weeks. The only other comment we had was there's an existing inlet or a hole, and we are asking you to change that to bring it into county standards.
Right.
So
Yep.
I think otherwise closed section is fine.
Okay. That was really the only question that we had about the plans themselves. What's our resubmission date and tentative planning board date at this point?
I should have that read.
I guess the other question is, has there been any correspondence sent in on this property?
We haven't had any correspondence for this one yet.
So
If
could
we-
this be approved by the director, or is it going to have to go to the board?
It's the director approval. So when you said that, I was wondering.
I just thought about that, sorry.
So nothing, but I'll let you know if we get anything. We have something, Carlos.
Hi, Kevin. This is Carlos from Montgomery Plan Transportation. Just a quick reminder, please submit your transportation adequacy form.
Yeah.
You are exempt from an LATR, but we still need to have a TAF submitted and signed off.
That's our mistake. It just didn't get included in the upload. I've got it, so we'll get it uploaded. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, before you upload, just make sure you send it to the email we provided on the comments so we can sign it off as well. That should be, that's the standard process. So once it's signed off, I can send it back to you and then have it uploaded.
Great, not a problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos.
Oops. You have any other questions?
No, that's all we had.
All right.
All right, thanks. Appreciate everybody's input.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina Sorrento, and this is the DRC meeting for Paramount Drive self-storage. The lead reviewer is Mark Beal, and the purpose of this meeting is to answer any questions you might have about the comments that you received. Mark, I'll just ask you to highlight any of the major issues and then turn it over to the applicant. Go ahead, Mark.
Mark Beal, I'm county planner. There were no real major red flags that we saw. This pretty much matches the conditional use and the LMA that were previously approved. So this is the applicant's meeting. Do you have any questions?
Hi, everyone. This is Dylan Macker with MHG. Thanks for meeting with us, and thanks for your comments here on the Paramount Drive self-storage sketch and site plans. I had a couple quick questions for the team, mainly related to the comments we received from DPS right away. Just looking for some clarification on a few of those. If I don't see Sam on the call. Hey, Sam, how are you? Good. One of the questions we had was related to the site distance evaluation. There was a comment on the plans that referenced an unconditional site distance analysis, and I was just curious if that was something new, or I haven't seen that request before. I wasn't sure what you meant by unconditional.
Yeah, we normally, when we receive site distance analysis, Dylan, we would like to see that access point has free and clear line of sight in each direction, without any condition to say that, well, for example, in this case, we have parkings on either side of the access point that block the line of sight, and anything similar to that. If there are any obstructions to the line of sight, they need to be clearly addressed as part of this application. For example, if the parking cars are the issue, we need to talk to DOT to see whether the on-street parking can be restricted, or access point can be moved, or some way to make sure there is safe site distance is available for this, for both of the access points.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This came up during the conditional use review too, and we had talked about restricted parking along Somerville. We'll take a look at that and follow up with any questions and make sure that it's clear on the site distance evaluation. And then one other comment, I guess, related to the site distance was for the mid-block crossing. I just wanted to confirm the methodology for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Finish your thought.
Whenever we have mid-block pet crossing proposed, such as this one, we need to make sure drivers have adequate line of sight, and pedestrians can be seen by the drivers, and that's the reason for that crosswalk that's proposed at the southern tip of your site.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as like the methodology goes for the analysis, is it similar to what we would use for parking garage exits?
So this one is actually will be stopping site distance.
But how it's measured, I guess, is what we would typically do is have it, 3 foot back from the flow line, and then at the center of the sidewalk, and then you'd measure the site distance out to the center line of the road.
Yeah, I mean, from where you're proposing your crosswalk on either side, and it doesn't have to be a recessed situation. It can be from the point that pedestrians stop before they cross the road.
Okay, so because I think for parking garages, we typically go 3 foot back from the flow line of the crossing, and I guess in this case you're saying that it doesn't have to be exactly 3 feet back from that from that point. Okay.
I mean, that's for mostly for structures where the walls on either side obstruct the line of sight, all that. This one's different.
Got it. Okay. And then I admittedly, I took a quick look and was trying to find the minimum sight distance requirements for that based on the posted speed limit for Paramount, which is 25 miles an hour. I couldn't find what the minimum required sight distance was. I don't know if you have. if you're able to shoot
You
me.
can use AASHTO, Dylan.
Got it. Okay, just making a few notes here. One other question we had was related to the comment about labeling the internal roads as private for this. We're not really proposing any internal roads. It's really just covered drive aisles and covered loading areas.
Great.
So I wasn't sure if there was something more specific you were looking, but I mean, I would be hesitant to label anything as a private road on site.
No, I mean, as you know, the master plan calls for a few private roads within the site, but I guess we're not doing it. So, I mean, can label it as private drive, or I'm not sure if they're all drives or like pedestrian access only, or what have you. So you could just label it as such.
Okay. Okay. I mean, that was the bulk of the comments I had. We did receive, or bulk of the questions I had. We did receive the comments related to the site access points and the size of the curb radii and the width of both. We did look at this pretty extensively, and the curb radii are as tight as we can provide them for emergency vehicle access, and we're also preparing the truck turning analysis that was requested to show that. But we do think, and our team's still looking at this, we do think we can reduce the width of the access point along Paramount Drive a bit. So we're still looking at that, but are hopeful that we can reduce that a little bit to better accommodate the pedestrian experience along Paramount Drive. So we're hopeful that we can do that. And then also similarly with the street trees, there's obviously several underground utilities along both frontages. So we're having to avoid those and provide the correct spacing, but we are hopeful that we can provide better on-center spacing for those trees. And then we've replaced the red maples and the honey locust with trees from the approved tree species list. So I think all in all, we should be able to address those comments.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, we really appreciate you looking into those comments. This is Sandra Perez. I'm filling in for Natasha Fahim, who's the lead urban designer on this project, and she's not here. Thank you for looking at that access point and trying to minimize that length, that width. Since we have public open space on both sides, we are trying to have a more continuous experience between both areas of public open space. And so anything that you can do to improve that is appreciated. And thanks for looking at the suggestions that we made to accomplish that.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Like I said, we're hopeful. I think we can reduce the width on Paramount.
That would be great. We also had some comments about public benefit points. Is that something that you wanted to discuss now or later?
I don't think it was something that we needed to discuss now. I know Liz was still looking into that and would follow up with the team if she had any additional questions. I didn't personally have anything that we wanted to bring up on the call related to that right now.
Okay. Yeah, we support the public benefit points that you have provided. We were just trying to prioritize these other two categories of public benefit points that support the retail space that you're proposing. So we think that is a great addition to your project. We think it really helps with activation at that intersection. And I know it's in phase 2 of the development, but we just want you to know that we really support and want to to encourage that as much as we can. So I think the two categories of public benefit points that we had suggested are neighborhood services or small business opportunities for you to consider.
Yeah, we saw that, and as a team, we're still collectively taking a look at that. I think one of the things I was able to look at was there was a question about providing some amenity space there on the corner near the retail area. It is pretty tight with the grades. I think we're right now at like a 4-to-1 down to the sidewalk, so it will be challenging to do that. I mean, we are looking into it from a design standpoint, but I think it may be challenging for us to try to get any kind of open space, amenity space there at the corner near that retail area, given the grades.
Gotcha. Yeah, appreciate you looking into it, and we can certainly talk more about it.
Okay. Well, those are really the main questions I had. I know Sam spoke with some of our engineers earlier today to clarify a couple of the other comments related to the drainage studies. I don't know if there's anything else from our team, Steve or Rebecca, if you guys have anything you wanted to bring up with staff while we have them here.
Yeah, I did, Dylan. Hi, this is Rebecca Brown, BWD Architects. I had a question. I believe it was possibly Natasha. It's just listed as the general number 6. To provide more glazing or artistic treatment on the blank wall, the ground floor of phase 1. And I'm pretty sure what we're talking about is actually just kind of planned southeast of that FDC location. So, I guess we wanted to talk about the possibility of, obviously we don't necessarily want to add more glazing because we have a lot of glazing above it, and we kind of wanted to have like a nice healthy kind of base at that spot to kind of balance out that corner element. But I wanted to talk about the possibility of maybe we could enhance some of the landscaping features, which obviously aren't really shown on my elevations. But to just kind of create a softer environment, especially just outside of that little open space, bench seating area that we are providing there. But, so it's not going to be glazing, but we wanted to see what, your receptiveness to an accommodation like that would be.
Hi, thank you for the question. This is Atul Sharma. I'm the division chief for the design team. Natasha made the comment. I think, like you said, there is a lot of glazing on the upper floors of the building, which is good, and you can kind of see into the access areas to the storage units that are going to be lit up quite nicely, as is the case with these buildings. The base of the building, other than the entrance into the main lobby, is all sort of like a blank wall. And I think it is some sort of a stone, like a pre-manufactured stone or a split face stone base. And so there are units behind there. There's like 3 or 4 storage units southeast of the entrance lobby. So we understand that you can't put glazing into a unit there because the corridor's on the other side. But what it's doing is it's making the ground floor of that building the most opaque and less detailed as compared to the upper floor. So if you can't do glazing, that's fine. I think there are other architectural strategies you could use, like delineation of punched openings that are still masonry mostly. You could add some artistic paneling on the ground floor. But from our perspective, I think the ground floor experience is very important. So we want to make sure the base of the phase 1 building doesn't have an extension of it next to the lobby that is all blank. And you could use a combination of things. I think you could use some delineation of some bays along the base using masonry and landscaping. You could add some additional green screens if that works in this location. So we're open to strategies, but we would just want to make sure that the base is equally well designed as the upper floors are.
Okay. Yep. Appreciate that. Thank you. I think we can definitely accommodate some of those things without actually incorporating more glazing, but
There's units behind there that you can put glass in, we understand that.
okay, great, thank you. That was the only comment that I had a question on. I don't know if ownership had anything.
I think that concludes our commentary. Good morning, everyone, and thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Rebecca, and this is the DRC meeting for 19101 Darnestown Road. Your lead reviewer is Jane Fuser. I totally butchered that, sorry. And the purpose of this meeting is for you to ask any questions based upon the comments that you received. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and I'll turn it over to Jane to highlight any of the major items.
Hi everyone, this is Jane with Up County. This is an application for a one-lot subdivision for a single-family detached home in the AR zone. The lot parcel was created by deed in 1979, so they're proposing to use the rural development standards for this application. I would like to highlight that this is on a state highway road, ND Route 28, and also on a rustic road, which is Jerusalem Road. From a subdivision perspective, we didn't have any major comments besides some dimensions on the area to be dedicated. And besides the transportation comments and fire, I don't think there was much else. So if the applicant's available, do you have any questions about any of the comments?
Hi, Dave McKee, Benning Associates. The applicant is here also. I know I see her. We don't have too much. I can say since I received the comments, we've gotten a few updates. I've had a brief discussion with Marie LeBon on a few things and confirmed that the project is going to be exempt from fire department requirements. So that means we'll take that easement off of the plan that we show currently for what we have planned for a cistern. So that's good news. I had some back and forth with Molly on forest conservation comments and resolved my questions on that, so we're good there. And Rustic Road Committee, I have reached out to them, and we will be attending their meeting in December 12th, to get their feedback on the plan. I don't think they'll have any issues with the project, but we'll get that hopefully by the end of the month. So really it boils down to some of the questions on the cross section and de minimis. Those comments from either Carlos or DOT regarding some of those things. I'd like to just get some clarification. I guess mainly, obviously Jerusalem Road is a rustic road. There was a comment to add the sidewalk and swale to the cross section for that road, which is, I guess, okay, but we would not be adding that to the plan and not anticipating a sidewalk on Jerusalem, I'm sure, but I want confirmation of that. And then on Darnestown Road, there was a comment to add a sidewalk to the cross section. It's a state road. It's a country connector. It's in the AR zone. I'm not used to seeing sidewalks in that situation on that kind of a road with that kind of frontage. So just want some clarification on what we're looking for there. And also the bikeable shoulder. And the two of those comments tie into the comments about de minimis. So wondering how we move forward with that issue as well.
Hi, David. Hi, this is Carlos from Montgomery Planning. Just to clarify, you don't need to include any sidewalks on Jerusalem Road, even as a dedication. Since it's a rustic road, it's not required. I just need to coordinate with DOT to assess the swale, which should be included in the cross section for an open section. As for the Darnestown Road comment, the sidewalk really is just to it's just really just as a dedication. Since it is a state road, it really boils down to their boils down to the SHA jurisdiction if they would require it. But since you do meet the minimis, we just did the calculation on the square footage. I guess my two comments here are really just to include any language that confirms that it is over 25,000 square feet, the lot subdivision, to qualify for that de minimis, and also just include the spacing in the cross sections for the sidewalk. You're not required to build it out. You just need to make sure that it's dimensioned within that cross section on Darnestown Road. That's all.
Okay. And for the de minimis payment, is that a calculation that's done on your end, or how do we arrive at that number?
I can send you, yes, I can send you the worksheet for you to calculate the de minimis, but
Okay.
I believe that would be something you would have to coordinate with SHA, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna just waive it too. I don't think they have
Okay.
a capacity to acquire fees.
I see.
But definitely for the bike shoulders, that is a master plan item.
Mhm.
But again, that is probably going to be waived since it is under SHA jurisdiction.
Okay.
Another item that I just want to include, since this is still technically a corner lot, I still need to see some dimensioning for truncation on Jerusalem Road and Darnestown Road. So in the next set of plans, just make sure that the curb radii is recorded and dimensioned.
Okay. Yeah, I got that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Did DOT have any comments they wanted to share with the applicant?
This is Billy Whalen. My comments were in E-plans, but yeah, I think Carlos covered the same comments. Yeah, just on the cross section of Jerusalem, show the shoulder. I didn't mean to add in showing the sidewalk because that won't be required for a rustic road.
Yeah.
And then for Darnestown, it's a state road. And as Carlos mentioned, there's bikeable shoulders in the bicycle master plan, but it seems like you meet the de minimis requirement. Or so that'll be worked out with planning.
Okay.
Did you have any other questions about any comments, David?
I do not. No, I'm good.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to share with the applicant?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Marie.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, so since the matter with access has been resolved with fire access, we still need to see the dimensions for the access curb cut. So if you can add that in the next set of plans, that'd also be very helpful.
Yep. Sure, will do.
Then.
I have a question. Sorry, I have a question. This is Melissa with zoning plan review. So you said that the deed is from the 70s, right?
Yeah, 1979.
Okay, so Dave, is this section regarding pre-1958?
No,
Deeds
no, it's I think what we
Which
qualify for.
in the
Go ahead.
zoning code for the exception to today's lot frontage and lot size requirements? What section is that?
I don't know the exact section. I can send it to you, but
You
it
said
basically.
D1. You said 7.7.1 D1
Okay.
on your plan. That's for pre-1958.
Okay, I'll have to fix that if that's an error.
Yeah, let me know because I'm not sure. I'm not following where the lot area is, that it's exempt from lot area if you're recording now.
It's under existing lots and parcels, I believe, and it goes by zone. If this is pre-58, it wouldn't be here. It does,
It would be exempt entirely, right? Yeah, I understand. So it's probably similar to something we've had recently, but okay, it's D9. Maybe that's
It's in there somewhere, but I'll get that clarified for you, and I'll get that right on the plan if there's an update needed. But it exempts us from the area because we don't have 25 acres. We're in the AR zone, but it exempts us from that, and also the lot width requirement.
I think it's correct on your plan. I think I just went to the wrong part.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate
Great.
it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.